There is a reason this title makes you uncomfortable. It is not because it is aggressive or dramatic. It is uncomfortable because it points to something you have already sensed but learned to silence. Peace is one of those words that gets used so often in Christian spaces that it slowly loses its weight. People talk about peace as if it were a personality trait or a mood. Calm people are seen as peaceful. Organized lives are seen as peaceful. People who smile at church are assumed to have peace. But deep down, you know that what you are experiencing is not peace. And even more uncomfortable than that is the fact that you know it without anyone needing to explain it to you. This video is not here to accuse you. It is here to name something that has been quietly shaping your inner life. Many believers feel restless, tense, mentally exhausted, or constantly alert, yet they hesitate to call that state what it is. They label it responsibility. They call it maturity. They justify it as necessary pressure. They spiritualize it by saying they are in a season. But Scripture never describes peace as something fragile that disappears as soon as life becomes demanding. Biblical peace was spoken of in the middle of chaos, persecution, uncertainty, and loss, which forces us to ask a hard question. If life has always been hard, why is peace missing now? This is where the title becomes uncomfortable. You are not at peace, and you know it, because peace is not something you need to be convinced of. It is something you recognize when it is present and something you feel when it is absent. Jesus never told his disciples that peace would be an intellectual conclusion they reached. He said it would be something he gives, something that guards the heart and the mind, something that stands watch. If your inner world constantly feels unguarded, exposed, and tense, that is not neutral. That is not normal Christian growth. That is a signal. Many Christians today confuse peace with control. As long as things are predictable, structured, and within reach, they feel okay. But the moment uncertainty appears, peace collapses. That reveals that what was present before was not peace at all. It was stability. Biblical peace survives uncertainty. False peace depends on it disappearing. This is why the title feels provocative. It confronts a lie that says unrest is simply part of being faithful in a difficult world. While the world does bring trouble, Scripture never teaches that constant inner unrest is a sign of spiritual depth. Another reason the title feels controversial is because it challenges the belief that time automatically heals spiritual tension. Many people assume that if they just wait long enough, pray enough, or push through hard seasons, peace will eventually return on its own. But peace does not drift back accidentally. It flows from alignment. When something in your life is out of alignment with truth, peace does not act as a cushion. It acts as an alarm. Ignoring that alarm does not make you stronger. It makes you numb. There is also a subtle fear behind this topic. Some believers worry that acknowledging a lack of peace means they are failing God. They think peace is a reward for good behavior or correct doctrine. So instead of listening to their inner unrest, they suppress it and perform spirituality. But peace is not a performance metric. It is a relational indicator. It reveals whether trust is active or theoretical. You can believe many true things about God and still live as if the final weight of outcomes rests on you. That internal contradiction produces unrest every time. This is where we must be careful and honest. This video is not saying that if you feel anxious or restless, you are not a real Christian. It is also not saying that peace means the absence of emotion, concern, or responsibility. Biblical peace coexists with grief, effort, and action. What it does not coexist with is constant inner pressure driven by fear, control, or self-reliance. If your mind never slows down, if your thoughts always race toward worst-case scenarios, if your sense of worth rises and falls with outcomes, peace is being crowded out by something else. The reason you know you are not at peace is because your body and mind are telling the truth. Before your theology catches up, you may pray, you may read Scripture, you may attend church, yet there is an underlying tension that never fully leaves. The tension shows up when you try to rest. It appears when you are alone with your thoughts. It surfaces at night when there is nothing left to distract you. Peace does not avoid silence. False peace fears it. This is not meant to shame you. It is meant to wake you up gently but honestly. The absence of peace is not proof that God is distant. Often it is proof that God is inviting you to notice something you have learned to ignore. Peace is not passive. It is responsive. When it is missing, it is asking a question, not about God's faithfulness, but about where you are placing your trust, your identity, and your sense of safety. In the next part, we will go deeper into what actually steals peace from believers without them realizing it, and why many sincere Christians unknowingly build lives that function against the very peace they pray for. If peace has been missing, the question is not whether you have enough faith. The real question is what has quietly replaced trust in your daily life. Most believers do not consciously decide to live without peace. It happens slowly through habits of control, constant mental rehearsal of problems, and an unspoken belief that if they stop worrying, something will fall apart. Over time, anxiety becomes normalized and peace feels unrealistic. But Scripture never treats peace as optional. It is described as a fruit, a guard, and a promise that operates in real life, not just in prayer time. One of the main reasons peace disappears is because responsibility has been confused with ownership. You are called to act, plan, work, and steward. You are not called to carry the emotional weight of outcomes. When you carry what belongs to God, your inner world pays the price. Many Christians pray, but they pray while still gripping control internally. They ask God for help while preparing for failure. They say they trust Him while mentally preparing to fix everything themselves. That internal contradiction erodes peace every single day. Jesus never offered peace as something dependent on circumstances. He offered His peace. That distinction matters. His peace does not come from things going right. It comes from knowing who ultimately holds authority. When peace is absent, it often reveals that authority has quietly shifted in your heart, not away from God in belief, but away from God in practice. You may believe He is sovereign, yet live as if everything depends on your vigilance, your effort, and your foresight. The way of living is exhausting, and it produces constant tension. Peace is also stolen when identity becomes outcome-based. If your sense of worth rises when things succeed and collapses when they fail, peace will never settle. Scripture anchors identity in belonging, not performance. When identity drifts, peace becomes fragile. This is why some people feel restless even during success. Achievements cannot protect peace. When identity is unstable, they only increase the pressure to maintain what was gained. So what do you actually do when peace is missing? You start by telling the truth without spiritual language. You admit where you are carrying fear instead of trust. You name the areas where control has replaced surrender. This is not weakness. It is clarity. Peace does not return through denial. It returns through alignment. When your inner posture realigns with truth, peace follows naturally. Next, you practice releasing outcomes daily, not symbolically. This means you do the work you are called to do. Then you intentionally stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You stop using worry as preparation. You stop treating anxiety as responsibility. You pray, and then you act as if the prayer was actually heard. That shift feels uncomfortable at first because fear has trained you to believe that peace equals carelessness. In reality, peace is trust in motion. Scripture tells us to cast our cares, not manage them better. Casting implies separation. It means you no longer carry what you hand over. Many believers cast symbolically, but pick everything back up mentally. Peace requires consistency, not perfection. Each time anxiety returns, you redirect your focus back to truth, not with force, but with intention. You also need to protect space for stillness. Peace does not thrive in constant noise. Silence exposes what distractions hide. This is why many people avoid it. Yet silence is often where God restores what busyness has damaged. Stillness is not inactivity. It is resistance against a culture of constant urgency that trains you to live on edge. You redefine what peace looks like. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the absence of inner warfare. It is the ability to face uncertainty without panic, responsibility without pressure, and the future without dread. When peace begins to return, life may not immediately become easier, but your inner world becomes anchored. If you are not at peace and you know it, that awareness is not condemnation. It is an invitation. God does not expose unrest to shame you. He exposes it to lead you back to trust. Peace is not something you chase. It is something that grows when you stop carrying what was never meant to be yours. This is not about becoming passive. It is about becoming aligned. When alignment returns, peace follows. And when peace follows, your life begins to reflect the faith you already claim to believe.